I'm the doctor.
Doctor what?
Just the doctor.
All right then. I'm called the nurse.
Good team.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another Movie Nights series review. As you know, I am Dalton Burdett with the Movie Nights, and this time I'm with the amazing Nick Iricchio. Nick, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing horrific, buddy.
Of course, you tried to do a pun. Last year, I covered, every episode of Doctor Who Season 1/series, was it 14? I think was last year. And, because I realized I'd never really talked about Doctor Who on the channel before, despite being a massive fan of it. And I really loved doing those reviews, even though the comments hated me most of the time. And I loved, doing out the clips on social media as well. But I'm glad to not be alone. Nick, it's great to have you with me this time.
Of course, I can't let you get scrutinized online alone.
Yes, thank you. Friends don't let friends get internet trolled alone. That's the saying, and that's how it goes. But guys, we're here to talk about Doctor Who Season 2/Series 15, however you want to call it. And of this, of course...
Gatwa's second season.
Yes. This is, of course, Gatwa's second season, and he's joined by new companion Varada Sethu, playing Belinda Chandra. I really like that name. It rolls off the tongue quite well. And so far, we are 4 episodes into the season. And if you were like my old reviews and you're wondering, where the hell I've been... It's just been mad busy around here trying to do a bunch of videos and a bunch of different stuff, but I have been watching along every single week. I'm really liking the series, which we'll get into in a second, but we're going to go episode by episode, 1 through 4, do a little mid-season review, and then from here on out, we'll review them week to week as they air on Saturdays here, at least in the USA. So, Nick, the first episode was The Robot Revolution. That was our introduction to Belinda Chandra, where she is dating that guy who treats her kind of like shit, and she gets taken to this robot planet, or this planet where there's a robots running it, and the twist, by the way, these will be full spoiler reviews. You find out in the episode that it's been run by that asshole boyfriend that she had, because they thought it was the AI generator, but it was the Al generator, because his name was Al. Fucking A. And that is where everything comes from, because that little bit where he purchased her a star was the shit they tried to pull. And this is where the doctor's on that planet, helping that planet already, when he comes across Belinda, and he had been told by somebody in the past. He said, "Someone told me your name like it was important." And that's how they kind of meet. And he even references that he's met one of her descendants in the future, which we saw in the episode Boom last year. So after that quick recap, my brief thoughts on this episode, I thought it was decent. I thought it was fine. I have a feeling it's going to be just like Space Babies last year, where this is going to be my least favorite episode of the season. However, I thought this was a much better episode than Space Babies, and I think it was a much better premiere episode for a season as well. Almost immediately, I'm loving Belinda Chandra as a character. And don't get me wrong, I don't dislike Ruby Sunday, but there was just something that I always felt was missing with her. And ironically, I like Ruby Sunday more when she's not with the Doctor, both in 73 Yards and in an episode we're going to talk about here in just a minute. I like Ruby Sunday more on her own than as a companion. And part of that Ruby Sunday thing I didn't like is they constantly talked about how they were best friends, but you never quite felt that they were best friends. And in this season, the dynamic with Belinda is basically her kind of calling out the Doctor on his bullshit quite early, where he takes some of her DNA and tests it without telling her, and she's like, "Hey, you realize that that's weird, that you shouldn't do stuff like that." And she's also a nurse at a hospital, kind of reminiscent of Martha in that way. Or was Martha a nurse or a doctor? I think she was a nurse. But just even their banter in the beginning where he says, "You can call me the doctor," and she's like, "Well, you can call me the nurse." I'm loving it. I love that she just wants to fucking go home, because that's how I am whenever I'm not home, is I just want to go home. But I also love that she's been enticed enough on these adventures to kind of enjoy what she's doing with the Doctor. But in that first episode, my favorite aspect of it, where I was like, oh, this feels very cool and very Doctor Who, was the robots not being able to answer every 9th word or pick up every 9th word, because that's also kind of a commentary on problems with AI in general, little stuff like that. And so the Doctor and Belinda communicating through every 9th word I thought was actually pretty fun and pretty cool. You got introduced to some characters that were cool and interesting, some that you didn't care about at all. Again, I think so far it's the weakest episode of the season, but I think it is a much better episode than the premiere episode of last year being Space Babies. What were your thoughts on the Robot Revolution before we dive into the next one?
No, great. I mean, I like the whole idea of the star being purchased and her going and them being Belinda Chandrians, or I forgot what the actual alien term was, but
Mhm.
I thought that was fun. That was cheesy, right? That level of Doctor Who-ness with it. As for the twist, I didn't really feel any which way about it, about the Al AI significant. But I will say I thought it was a better premiere episode for you that, like you said, than Space Babies, and I thought it was a better companion introduction than the Christmas special with the goblins.
Really? Okay.
For me, I thought this worked a lot better in just getting me caught up with the introduction of Belinda versus the introduction of Ruby.
Fair.
Personally, for me, and I do agree with you. I think that I really like Belinda as a companion right now because I think a lot of the companions lately have just been gung ho, go along with the doctor, ride or die. And I think Belinda is still like that, but I like the idea that she sees why they're doing what they're doing and isn't really swept
Mhm.
up in the amazingness of the adventure, but that sort of nurse, that doctor mentality of wanting to make an impact, seeing how she can make an impact, the importance of what they're actually doing, I think is interesting. And I think that they do a great job of tying that, like the mystery of Ruby Sunday,
Mhm.
WoW was kind of sprinkled throughout the season. I thought they did a decent job with it. I love the idea that you have this character that just wants to go home, and for whatever reason they can't. And the course of this season is them just trying to figure out why they can't get home. And I
Yes.
thought that just from a narrative standpoint that worked a lot better for me and is working a lot better for me.
No, I agree, and I also think that just after being not fully let down by last season, it was a bit of a letdown in that how much it had built up versus the actual revolution and resolution.
Hmm.
Whereas the idea of something happened to the Earth and we can't figure out how to get back, I've gaslit myself in my head of like, there's no way they can disappoint me on this resolution, right? Like, there's no way that like this is something that's not cool. Is kind of where my head's at least. But
Hmm.
yeah, no. While I liked Ruby's introduction as a companion more, I think because it was also tied with Shooty's introduction, so it was a double introduction. I already like Belinda Chandra as a character more. Like even from like I thought that in the first episode, then I was like, we're being recency biased. But then as soon as we got into the second episode, I was like, nope, I like Belinda. I like Belinda a lot more. And let's dive into the second episode now. This episode is called
Oh
Lux,
yeah.
and I'm actually going to let you go first on this one. This is when the Doctor and Belinda find the abandoned cinema, hiding a terrifying secret with Mr. Ring-a-Ding, voiced by Alan Cumming. Dude, it's kind of a banger of an episode. It's really
So
good.
good.
And
I
I'm throwing it to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I thought going into it, I was like, "Oh man, this is gonna be goofy, the cartoon," but like the kind of cheesiness where I feel like I'd vibe with it. But I really thought it was just gonna end up being sort of a overall a nothing burger of an episode. I didn't think it was gonna lead into anything. I didn't think it was gonna tie into anything. I thought it was just gonna be a little fun time, probably a little overly cheesy. You got Alan Cumming running around. I love movies. We run a movie channel.
Oh, yes.
So I was already brought in. If you make anything about a movie theater, I'm gonna like it typically,
Mm-hmm.
Um, but man, dude, what a banger. The minute the whole thing, right, the character keeps repeating, right, don't make me laugh. Don't make me laugh. And I was never asking the question of where that would go. And then he goes, it'll
Yep.
sound like this. And then he just did the giggle and I just locked in. Like like I was kind of watching it, enjoying it. I was kind of sit back and then I was just on the edge of I was watching the whole episode like this, just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we're doing this. We're doing this.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're tying back into
Um,
that.
yeah, exactly. Which obviously the giggle being part of the gods, the pantheon of gods, going after
Mm-hmm.
him, all having that symbolic noise gesture there. I thought that Alan Cumming gave a great performance as that character, especially like sort of the menacing points when you want him to be menacing. Um, there was a whole meta-ness that and fourth wall breaking,
Oh,
literally,
yes.
that I was not expecting. That I absolutely, it worked for me on many levels.
Mm-hmm.
I did get sort of emotional during that scene. I thought there was a lot of meta comedy and meta about Doctor Who as a whole that I thought worked really well. I did get teary eyed at the end of that sequence, and I was not expecting it, especially from this fucking Mr. Ring-a-Ding episode.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, overall, I think really my biggest gripes with it were just sort of the resolution of it all seemed kind of convenient,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
also it was convenient, but it also, like, I get it. It makes sense what they were doing. I understand conceptually what they were going for.
Yeah. It just
And I
didn't
think
quite
it
work.
I think it's realistic as a live action cartoon could be,
Yeah.
but I think that I was wishing maybe there was something a little more substantial because I think it was doing so much with the story already that it was kind of just like the ending felt like an afterthought.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think I echo every sentiment you have about the episode, by the way. Going back to that meta-ness, Russell T, I think one of the best jokes he's ever written is the fact that all the fans just keep liking Blink. And he's like
Yeah.
naming his episodes, and they're like, no, we love Blink. It was so good. I also, this was the best use of the increased budget for Doctor Who, by far.
Agreed.
Like,
Agreed.
the way that Mr. Ring-a-Ding looked, the way he interacted, like, this is what the budget of Doctor Who, the new budget, could be. Most of the time, it's just very overproduced on things that actually would have been more effective had the, old school, cheesy practical effects been at play instead of this overproduced thing that we have. And I think that this episode, though, was like, oh, this was where this budget should have been going in other episodes with stuff like this. 100%. 100%. I really, really enjoyed Lux. Just like last year, I like Devil's Cord. I think that episode's quite good. I like that episode.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Maestro I thought was an excellent
Oh, yes.
antagonist in that episode, and I'm blank. I think it's Jinx Monsoon.
Jinx Monsoon.
Jinx Monsoon does a terrific job, just eating every single scene, and I just love the performance.
Oh, I agree.
Again, but somehow I feel like that episode was more cheesy than the live action cartoon
Yeah.
walking around.
Yeah, no,
so
I agree.
I think that's the fun of Doctor Who with that, though, because then once you get to episode 3, you're just like, what the hell are we doing?
And this is something that I'm going to bring up. I think if you ever want to explain to someone like what is Doctor Who, show them Lux and then show them the well. Just be like, this whiplash is what the show is. Like, this
It's going to be tonal. It's tonal whiplash week by week.
Oh yes, and I love it. But dude, let's get into the well.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit, dude! I think this might be the best episode of Shooty's run, honestly, so far. Even in just the RTD2 run, like even all the 60th anniversary episodes, this might be the best episode of that bunch. Such a fantastic episode. Like, before the reveal that it's a midnight sequel, which, by the way, holy fuck. But even before that, this was already, like, an incredible episode. Like, the intrigue, the sets, like, the performances, like, when they find that girl and she's just alone, and they're trying to figure out, like, all right, clearly you being alone sucks, and you have a family, but everyone else died around you, so we kind of need to figure out what's going on here. And her, like, not being too eager to leave, but also trying to be, like, like, try to remain cool when she knows what's happening. And then you get these characters. Like, I love the sharpshooter character. I thought it was a very well-written character, like a one-off character. And then you get the whole story. You go through the whole thing. You get 2 fucking amazing jump scares with that thing. And then as soon as... See, I should have picked up on it when they said it was an extonic star, because I didn't pick up on it then. And I was like, okay. And I'm thinking, and then, dude, as soon as they said, this is a true story, I'm watching it with Hannah, and my sister just happened to be at the house, like, visiting me, and I had the episode on. So me and Hannah are watching. Peyton, my sister is just kind of getting ready to leave. And as soon as they said, this planet was once entirely made out of diamonds, I looked over at Hannah like a child like a kid in a candy store, and I was like, they're on fucking midnight. This is midnight. And then my sister looks over, she's like, what are you rambling about? I'm like, you don't understand this planet. This is a huge fucking deal. This is a David Tennant episode. And then literally seconds later, they go, it was called Midnight. And then it flashes back to David Tennant. Dude, I stood up. I was like, I fucking knew it. Holy shit, this is bad. They're all fucked. I just started, like, freaking out.
That was one that I didn't realize until that was one they had to spell out for me. Like, even the hints, like, it didn't stick to me until he said it was midnight, and then it cut to David Tennant, and I just shot up, and I was like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
One thing I love about Doctor Who, and it goes into this episode, is I love that I like when they bring back creatures in different forms. Like, I like that they do adapt it, because obviously the midnight creatures now are very different than what they were in that episode, but I like the clock structure, right? The actual
Mm-hmm.
midnight. Like I like how they all tied that together. And I like that they're not afraid to just change like we know so little about all of these creatures
Mm-hmm.
typically, especially the midnight ones that it makes sense in some regard. Well, I think that one was sort of jumping into people, right? If I recall midnight correctly.
Yeah. So in the
It's kind
first
of like
and
taking over their
yeah,
consciousness.
and I was going to get into this too because it can be interpreted as a change, but it also can be interpreted as an evolution because all we knew about the thing was we never saw it, but we knew that it was just trying to learn about humans because it kept repeating and it kept
Hmm.
like doing it over and over and over again, and then eventually it becomes a game where they start doing it, and then in the well when the one character, the deaf character, who the actress did an amazing job, when she's describing like what happened and what the colleagues were telling her is they said when they opened the well something came out and that it started laughing, and it's just like, oh, this thing is just a dick.
Yeah.
Like that. So when you rewatch
Evil
Midnight,
dead demon. Okay,
yeah,
I'll buy into the evolution theory. I'm
yeah,
cool with that.
and then it's just one of those things that we learn more about it and learn more because like even in the Midnight episode, like it ripped the ship in half and it like
Hmm.
threw the captains out, and you see it do like physical stuff in this thing as well. And I actually thought that the resolution of getting the mercury to reflect it to free the girl, I thought that was like a very doctor-like plan that felt not like a cop-out like the end of episode 2 was. Like it felt like, oh, that was a cool solution on how to get out of this. Now, I do think that the tag at the end, I wish it was more ambiguous because it was already ambiguous, but I wish it was more ambiguous instead of very much implying that like either the creature escaped or that there were multiple. And because I like the sacrifice that the one character made at the end, but by far the best
Yeah.
episode of this new era. It was unbelievable.
I think that was my gripe with it too. Was that the sacrifice was cheesy with the voiceover and the slow mo running, but also
Hmm.
I was kind of digging it. Like
Yeah.
I was kind of vibing with it for a bit, and then the tag to me kind of undid that sacrifice, which then I was like, well, I feel like that kind of undermines your whole finale of this episode. But I agree with the Mercury. I thought that was a fun decision. It got back to because I think a big issue that I've had, and maybe other people have had this as well, is just like I feel like the Doctor as of late, it's been a lot of convenience more than figuring out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like when the Doctor does the problem solving. I like when he looks for the creative solutions,
Mm-hmm.
and it seemed lately like a lot of it had been like even with Boom, how it was like he somehow got a robot to feel emotions. Like I like more the puzzle solving of like I'm gonna have the Mercury reflect it and hope that works, and then even
Mm-hmm.
still that does work briefly, and then at the end, obviously all that sequence in the hallway when the other character sacrifices themselves. So I think it was more of just the tag to me ruined a lot of the momentum of the finale of that episode, but I still did enjoy it. It just felt like, are we getting another midnight thing soon? Because it feels like a weird tag to
No,
have if we're not.
I don't think so. Honestly, what I think is like I think obviously Russell is gonna step down as the showrunner again at some point, and
Mhm.
I think it's just him for like new writers, kind of being like, if you want to tackle this thing, it's out there.
Midnight's here if you want it.
Yeah, yeah, kind of, because I'm sure before he did that from the first episode, I'm sure he was very protective of that creature, of that IP, kind of like how Stephen Moffat was very protective of the Weeping Angels, I'm sure. And then,
Mhm.
as he stepped away and as he let other like spin-off shows do it, and then Chris Chibnall did a Weeping Angel episode, which as much as I kind of harp on the Chibnall era, I thought the Weeping Angel episode was very good. And it's just something that want to play with and do. But I don't anticipate seeing that creature for a while personally.
I think that's my thing is I kind of want to see more of the classic villains. Like I want to see Shooty interact with the Dalek. With the
I want to see him interact with the Daleks so
yeah,
badly.
has he had any of I'm thinking like Cybermen, Weeping Angel. I can't think off the top of my head.
Not that I can think of, and I wonder if I don't know this. I wonder if it's like a rights issue, because I wonder if bringing Disney into the game, if that like complicates the rights with the Daleks specifically, because the Terry Nation estate, the person who created the Daleks, like they own them, and it took them a while to even approve the BBC show in 2005. Like they got into filming before the Terry Nation estate was finally like, okay, you can use them, and it was just like a whole thing. So I wonder if having
Oh
Disney
wow.
another company, I wonder if that prevents that. I don't know. I don't know that for sure. But I know that
Hmm.
it was very complicated to get the Daleks even in Doctor Who, which is where they come from. So it's a whole thing. But moving on to episode 4, which was Lucky Day. This was an episode that I liked a lot more than I thought I was going to, and it's partially due to the twist about halfway through. I thought it was an excellent twist, and in this episode, it's a Ruby Sunday Dr. Light episode, which I like Dr. Light episodes if they're done right, and I thought this one was done pretty well. And again, this just goes to my thing, though, of I enjoy Ruby more when she's not with the Doctor. Like, I just think she's better on her own. And her meeting this boyfriend who runs a podcast, and he's very handsome. She's falling for him, but he's in trouble from this monster. She's been working with the unit. This monster's coming back to get him because he didn't take the antidote like a fucking idiot. And then turns out it was all a ploy. Turns out he's like a grifter, basically spreading misinformation about unit. Very timely commentary. And it leads to a finale that I thought was insane, but like complimentary. Like him going to unit, killing that guard. And dude, he was just, the performance, by the way, it's the guy that played Prince Eric in the Little Mermaid reboot. The performance of this character was so good because I was really digging him in the beginning. And dude, on a dime, I was like, dude, fuck this guy. And like literally in the third act, when he has a gun pointed at Kate Stewart and all this stuff happening, and Ruby tries to say something, and he goes, "The adults are talking." Dude, my skin, I was like, dude, fuck this guy. I hate this guy. And, like, first of all, Kate Stewart.
I love Kate Stewart.
Anytime Kate Stewart pops up, it's a good day. I love that character. She's one of my favorite Doctor Who characters.
It's genuinely the only reason I'm excited for
the War Between the Land and the Sea.
The War Between the Land and the Sea is because I know Kate Stewart's going to be running around.
And honestly,
they made 73 Yards a better episode, and it was already a great one.
Yes. And honestly, this episode felt like a backdoor pilot for the War Between the Land and the Sea. In terms of the negatives on it, 2 things. One, while I really liked the episode itself, I thought that its placement in the season was a bit odd because we had just started to hit momentum with the Doctor and Belinda. And while Belinda's in the episode briefly, I was really, really looking forward to like one more adventure with them to really supplement, like, stamp that this is the new duo before kind of stepping away. So I wish we had gotten one more adventure with the Doctor and Belinda before this episode. But other than that, it was great. Oh, one more thing. The twist is good, and it is effective. However, I find it very hard to believe that even in the episode itself, they mentioned Googling this guy and stalking him on the internet. And, like, you didn't find this out? like, there's no way that this thing was, like, a secret. Like, it had followers, it had everything. So, like, that's the... If you can get past that's the one thing that's, like, that's kind of... You kind of have to take a leap.
That's asking a lot. That's asking a lot logically. Yeah.
But if you just go with it in the narrative, it works very well. I also love the end of the episode where the Doctor just comes back to be like, "Hey man, fuck you." I love that.
I loved it because I was like, all right, where are we going with this? About half, because they really harp on that sort of rom-com vibe, which I think works really well to really cement that twist. And one thing I was happy about, and I feel like it's something that Doctor Who sometimes isn't the best about, is they reveal that twist, but it never goes to like a full extent that I thought it would go to. Like the fact that it was like unit being fully exposed and like that whole third act sequence in the unit tower. Like I was like, oh, they're making use of this twist, and I appreciate that because sometimes it happens and then fizzles out. I was like, oh no, they're fully going for this. Kate Stewart was like, talk bad about my dad.
Oh, dude, that
kill
pissed
him,
me off. Oh, when he talked bad about the Brigadier, I was like, this fucking guy.
I just thought that too, and just the whole concept of the misinformation, I thought was really an interesting storyline. Like you said, a little bit timely with these people sort of perpetuating and banking on that lies, that misinformation. So, and I thought that Prince Eric, I think it's Jonah, I believe is his name, Jonah King.
Here, I'll look it up while you're talking.
I thought he was a great cast for it because especially maybe playing off that Little Mermaid where he was a prince, playing into that.
Yes,
you're not
Jonah
expecting
King.
that sort of evil spin on it, and I thought Ruby Sunday, I do agree with you. I think I really like her individual episodes on it. As for the placement, I agree, especially because when he's in prison, you get the Mrs. Flood of the
Mm-hmm.
episode, and she
Of
says
course.
she's the general of the prison. So I don't
Yeah.
know if that was a hint toward anything. But it seems to be like Mrs. Flood is gonna be a big part of the finale. And if I had to guess or assume, I feel like episodes 7 and 8 are probably gonna go pretty close hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So especially if he's even playing Conrad is playing a role in that, it seems like, yeah, have that fifth, have that break, and then have that momentum of 6 going into the finale in that regard. And maybe they have something planned with 6 to do that. We haven't seen that yet, but it seemed like maybe just flipping those from what I know now, maybe would have been more effective. And I do love the doctor scene. I think I saw some jokes online saying the streak has finally been broken of Shooty not crying in an episode, um, which
That's pretty good.
I think has been sort of a complaint with people, which I think is valid. The doctor's not
Mhm. It
typically
was
emotional in that
unique at
regard.
first of like, oh, he's really in touch with his emotions, and then it was just kind of, man,
Yeah,
he won't stop crying.
yeah, exactly. So I think it was one of that. So, and you could tell he was on the verge in that scene too, but he was like, no,
Mm-hmm.
I got to keep it. But what I love too is, to me, it was very reminiscent of. It wasn't a direct callback, obviously, but there's a line that Peter Capaldi has when he says, "I think you'll find it to be a very small universe when I'm angry with you."
Yeah.
And the fact that like the doctor brought him into the cell, he's like, "You have to be invited in, but I came to you," and was just like,
Mm-hmm.
and the concept. That's when I felt really more so his connection with Ruby, like you had said earlier, where you never
Yeah.
really felt that friendship. Like him just literally stopping everything he's doing, going there, I thought was great. I love the spoilers of like names he was saying. It tied back to,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, the Belinda Chandra of it
Mm-hmm.
all. Like I've heard that name,
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I thought that it tied into other storylines very well.
No, I agree, and I also the whole thing with Mrs. Flood throughout the whole season. She's basically the new Susan Triad, even though she had been around since last season. Um, I I'm starting to think that she's probably is a Time Lord of some sort. This is just my theory because she called herself the Governor, and that just sounds like a
Governor,
title.
not general. I'm sorry, that's what I
Yeah,
meant.
it just sounds like a title. Like the
Hmm.
Doctor, the Master, the Governor. Like I don't know. I'm just theorizing, but it's just so we got that storyline that's going to come to play. We already got the whole where he heard Belinda's name from. That's all coming through. I listen. So far, I think the season's been a big improvement over season one, and I don't hate season one. For the record, you can watch my reviews. I really like season one, but I think that so far this has been even better, and I'm really looking forward to where it goes. I hope that this isn't the last season for the Disney interaction, although it's seeming like that's going to be it. I'm hoping at least the BBC will continue it as it goes forward, but we'll see. I feel like we're going to get an announcement like 2 days after the finale airs, which worries me. But it's going to be one of those things. But like I said, I've been really liking the season so far. I think they've done a great job. I'm looking forward to Saturday's episode, although it's got a big spider in it, which makes me nervous because I'm just like, I don't know if that's going to be good. But we'll see. We'll see. I've been wrong before. Thoughts on just kind of final thoughts on just kind of the season so far and what you're looking forward to?
No, yeah, I mean, I've been enjoying it so far. Like you said, I think I do. I've been enjoying these first 4 episodes a lot more than some of the scattered ones of there. But I don't know if it's reached some of the highs. Like I really love 73 yards as an episode, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any are really at that level for me yet.
Yeah,
But I have been. But I think that these 4 average out a lot higher than a lot of season one, and I really do like Shooty as the doctor. I think he's
me
doing a
too.
great job. So, and I hope he's not just a unfortunate, same with Jodie. Like I thought Jodie was a terrific doctor. She just didn't have the scripts and the material to work with. And I think sort of on the flip side, I think Shooty has too big of a budget that they're working with. And I think both come at that sort of detriment.
Yeah, and speaking of Jodie, the guy who wrote Lucky Day, his name is Pete McTighe, I think is how you pronounce his name. He
Hmm.
first started writing in Jodie's era, and I didn't like either of his Jodie episodes. So when I saw his name, I was like, ugh. But I was really impressed with the episode. I liked it.
Yeah,
Um,
no,
going
absolutely.
going back to season one briefly, um, my favorite episodes of that season were Boom, 73 Yards, and The Legend of Ruby Sunday, the episode before the finale. But although I also liked Rogue, except I loved everything with Jonathan Groff in Rogue, I didn't love the main villains in Rogue, and I thought that the end of Dot and Bubble was fucking crazy. That was crazy. What just everyone was being fucking racist. That was insane.
Yeah, see, I really liked Dot and Bubble. I like
Devil's Court as well.
I think 73 Yards is probably my favorite, and then I did like Devil's Court a lot. I like Dot and Bubble, and I did like Rogue. Yeah. It was definitely I would say overall I enjoyed it a lot more than I would say most of Jodie's run.
Yeah, no, same. And I also enjoyed The Church on Ruby Road. I liked Joy to the World most than I think most of my friends on the internet did. I like Joy to the World. But honestly, I think the best episode of all the ones I've just said was The Well. I think that was an awesome, awesome episode.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, been enjoying season 2. We're going to do them week by week from here on out. But guys, thank you so much for joining us on our little mid-season review here. Schedules have been crazy, but we're back, and we'll both be back for the next episode sometime this weekend. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.